fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Heather D. Tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Fish Report Live. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. We're your hosts. Thanks for joining us. Back in our sound room tonight, it's TK and Heavy D. We'll talk to them a little bit later in the program. And out in Studio R, it's Kobe and Kearns. Always excited to talk to them. Ken, another big night on FRL, talking hoops, talking a little regular season wrap-up and tournament, of course.
Yes, it is, Craig. A lot of hoops action tonight, Craig. We're going to talk about the girls' sectional finals coming up all over the place this coming weekend, Craig. We're going to talk about the first round of the boys sectional that's starting to kick off this weekend as well. And really looking forward to going out and talking some MAC basketball, Craig. The MAC, of course, they've still got one weekend left in their regular season, but we're really looking forward to talking to the Marion Local alumni and the head coach of the basketball team over there, and that's Kurt Goettemoeller. Saw his team play last week, Craig. He's got a great basketball team, and he's looking for a MAC championship this weekend and then a big postseason run as well. So really looking forward to that interview.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since we had Coach Goettemoeller on the show, so like you said, looking forward to getting him back on the program tonight. And speaking of MAC basketball, that is the subject of tonight's poll question.
Which of these four MAC teams will go the furthest in the postseason? Four great basketball teams here, Craig. And we're going to go with Marion Local, St. Henry, Versailles, which is Division III, or Minster. Those other three schools there, of course, all Division IV. They'll all be in the same district, battling it out up there in the Walpock district, I think it is. So what a tough district tournament that is. So which of those four teams there do you feel will go the furthest in the tournament?
Yeah, we'll ask Coach Goettemoeller about that question tonight in that Walpock district, see what he thinks about all that. If you're watching us on the Fish Report Live page on the computer or your phone, you can scroll down, help us answer tonight's poll question, and check the results. If you're watching us on NK Telco Cable TV, TK is going to have those results for you at the end of the show. All right, Ken, let's get things started, and let's bring in the guys out in Studio R here right away. And guys, in that the first couple rounds of tournament are out of the way now in the girls' tournament there, the Sydney sectional, which, to be honest with you, has been pretty boring, with the exception of maybe one or two games there. For the most part, not real exciting basketball when you get those higher seed teams versus the lower seed teams, but we got some big matchups coming on Saturday in the sectional finals, and I want to start out with you, Kearns. That Russia versus Botkins game is a rematch. Actually, the third time these two schools are going to go head-to-head.
Yeah, the first two times they met in the regular season, it's been kind of a Yana. Russia won by double digits both times. But I think it'll be different, especially with what's at stake, the sectional championship on the line. And also with the Botkins have SCAL Player of the Year, Sarah Bergman, so she'll definitely shut down Larissa Pulling, or at least keep her to single digits, which she's usually leading the Raiders in scoring. So obviously the Raiders supporting cast around Larissa is definitely going to have to step up if they want to come out on top.
Yeah, and Covey, the other game, we got Fort Laramie against, we just found out Houston actually knocked off Triad, so there's another rematch of SCAL schools.
Yeah, Laramie just played Houston the other week. They won by 21 to clinch a share of the SCAL title. Big contribution from the Monier sisters tonight. They combined for 39 of the 59 points. I won't expect to see Houston score that many points Saturday. But out of those three teams, I think that's the team that Laramie wants to see the most. I think they would have been most afraid to see Jackson Center, but they fell because the matchups were just different against Triad. And I think Saturday Laramie won by at least 20 points. I think it'll be about another 55-35 ball game. Laramie's just got more depth and more experience and better ball handling than the Wildcats do, and will roll that sectional title.
Guys, I got to kind of agree with you there on those sectional picks over there in Sydney. Let's jump over to Brookville now, and let's first of all take a look at the lower bracket over there in Brookville. And the reason it's drawing interest here is because the winner of the Russia-Botkins game will take on the winner of this game between Newton and Tri-Village. Russia has had a chance to see both these teams this year. Russia, I think, winning at Newton in a very close contest, and then when Tri-Village came over to Russia, they showed their strength there. The Patriots got a pretty nice team. Kearns, what's your feelings on that lower sectional final?
It'll obviously be a competitive game. Tri-Village has Downing, Seiler, and Porter. Both Seiler and Porter were scored in double digits the first time they came around, and Downing sealed the deal with 2 clutch free throws at the end to win the game 49-47. And obviously when you look at Newton, they have the great Tana McBride, from Newton, and she's been a great player since her freshman year, 1,000-point scorer. So if Tri-Village wants to come out on top with an easy win, they're going to have to shut down McBride and do whatever they can to keep her in single digits.
Well, that's great stuff there. Covey, let's talk to you a little bit about the Brookville upper bracket. And we got Covington versus Franklin Monroe. A couple more CCC teams there. And, the 2 and the 3 seed. So that tournament, that whole Brookville sectional has kind of played out the way it should with the top 4 seeds advancing. What's your thoughts on the finals of this bracket?
Well, I think the key to this game is going to be depth. And in the first game of the season, Franklin Monroe dominated Covington and won 51-35. And I've had the chance to see Covington called that game against Russia the other month. They got a real nice smooth point guard in Sammy Whiteman. She's probably a Division II, maybe even a Division I product. But I think the key for Franklin Monroe is they've got Karina Conley, who is the sister of Ethan Conley, the standout on the boys varsity team. They have Audrey Cable, Chloe Broombaugh, and they have a lot of depth. You see a lot of their games, they have at least 4 or 5 girls scoring 8 points or more, and that's going to be the key. Covington only goes 6 girls deep, and that's what I think is going to trouble them in this game. You can only rely on Whiteman to maybe score you 22, 25 points, but that isn't going to be enough. I think I'm going to take the Jets in this game about 45-35, and it'll be a real interesting game, I think, but Franklin Monroe's depth will just be way too much for the Buccaneers to overcome with only playing 6 girls.
Great stuff there, guys. And you mentioned a lot of good names there. With Tatum McBride over there at Newton and Sammy Whiteman at Covington. A lot of times we don't pay a whole lot of attention to the CCC over here. Our focus is on the SCAL, but a lot of good players there on the girls' side in the Cross County Conference.
Yes, there is, and we've had an opportunity to see several of those girls play against Russia here this year, or some of the other local teams in the Shelby County League. And you're right, they've held their own. They've got a very competitive league over this year, and it shows there with the finals of the Brookville sectionals.
All right, guys, great stuff for that, and thanks for that, Ken. Let's talk a little boys now. I know we talked last week on the show about that Piqua sectional. Of course, that kicks off on Friday night. But we don't have to go over all the games again. But knowing what you know today, right now tonight, what game or what games over there maybe interest you a little bit in that Piqua sectional, either Friday or Saturday?
Well, Craig, I think there's 3 games of interest. I think there's some really good first-round games here being played in the upper bracket there. Lehman and Covington, the winner, I think that's an interesting game right there. You got the 9 versus the 11 seed. Winner takes on the Russia Raiders. I think the Jackson Center Mississinawa Valley game, Craig, I think that's an interesting game. I saw Mississinawa Valley play early in the year. They're very well coached. Jackson Center, of course, with Coach Scott Elkert. He'll have his kids ready to play there, and I think that's a pretty interesting matchup. And then Farallon and Triad, again, another pretty good matchup right there. Triad beat Farallon early in the year by about 15 points, but Farallon's been playing really well right now. So I think all 3 of those games right there are all fairly interesting and going to be good basketball games.
Good reason to head to Garber Gymnasium this weekend, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, good stuff there. And we're going to take a short break, but stay right there because we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more basketball, including some MAC basketball, that big conference final on Friday night, in our interview with Coach Goettemoeller from Marion Local.
My father said it's time to be home, man, but don't go and talk in the motherland. You were born with heart, raised on pride. This is gonna go wrong through your bloodline. devised by foolish views. Religious divide on month may create civil war on my friendly land. Oh, blood and bruised and slain. Oh, pride in this name.
And welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were talking some SCAL girls and boys basketball. Going to change gears now a little bit here and talk some MAC basketball. And it's been several weeks since we talked MAC, Ken. Actually, it was back when we had Coach Michael McClurg from Minster on this show several weeks ago. But, they're heading into the final week of conference play this Friday night. And let's check out the standings and see what they have to play for.
Well, Craig, you've heard this before. It's easier to win a state championship than it is a MAC championship. And this year in basketball might be a very similar call here. When you look at the MAC standings, Marion Local right now on top of those MAC standings, sitting undefeated at 8-0. St. Henry just a game behind them. Versailles, of course, they've lost to Marion Local and St. Henry both games last week, so they're at 7-2. So it's pretty much it's Marion Locals has clinched at least a share of the title, depending on what they do against a pretty good Coldwater team Friday night when they take on the Cavaliers. So really looking forward to see what happens in that game. But we got a chance to see Marion Local play last Saturday night, Craig. They got a very nice basketball team.
Yeah, one big reason for their success, of course, is their head coach, who's been there. This is his 7th season, actually. We're happy to have him live on the phone now. Coach Goettemoeller, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, Craig and Ken, thank you for having me.
Well, listen, it's a typical Marion Local season, in my opinion. You know, you get kind of this late start, your first 8 games, you're a respectable 5-3, but then you go on this tear and you're 12-1 here in your last 13 games. Have you become accustomed to this kind of season?
I think, I'm used to getting a late start, that's for sure. Our basketball team, this is my 7th year, and we've been to the state football championship game 7 years in a row. So every one of my years here, we've always dealt with that late start. So you get an idea of how you want to attack things. And I think what we try to do is focus on defense early in the season. We try to win games ugly early, and sometimes that it doesn't always work out. We lost 3 games this year to Coldwater and Anna and to Shawnee, where we had double-digit leads in the second half, and we just weren't able to hang on to those games. And you give some credit to those teams, but we've made some adjustments, and I think towards the middle of the year, teams start adjusting to what we're doing a little bit, and it's just a constant game of adjusting here and there, and we feel like we're playing our best basketball here at the right time.
Well, as Ken just said, we got a chance to see you this past Saturday. You beat our Raiders by 20 points, Coach. And actually, I guess I ought to admit, I think you've won 6 of the last 7 years that you've been there. So, you had some success against Russia, that's for sure. Going into that game, I was looking for a big night from Tyler Mesher. And although he was the leading scorer, Coach, you got a lot of balance on that team.
Yeah, I think that's what you gotta have if you want to be a good basketball team, and certainly if you want to advance in a tournament. And people coming into this year knew that Tyler Mesher and Nate Bruins are all league players, and they actually just garnered all District 8 this evening that came out, so they were first team. And so we know, everybody knows that those are probably our 2 best players, but we got a lot of other guys that can score the basketball. We got, a team that really defends well, and they share the ball really well, and so you definitely need a 3rd and 4th scorer to step up if you want to advance in tournament. And last year, we were able to get some guys to step up in addition to Tyler and Nate, and that allowed us to have some success in the tournament. And we're certainly going to need that this year if we want to advance.
Coach, let's talk about the big game you've got coming up Friday night. Of course, the next game is always the most important game, and it's a chance for your Flyers to win the MAC outright. You host the Coldwater Cavaliers, a very good basketball team, a team that you've already played earlier in the year in a preseason tournament-type atmosphere. Tell us what it's going to take this time to get past the Coldwater Cavaliers.
Yeah, Ken, as you mentioned, they did get us by 4 points first time, and that was, again, one of those games where we had a 9-point third-quarter lead, but Coldwater's very explosive. I think they're probably one of the best three-point shooting teams we're going to see all year. So, one of the first things we need to do is extend out the shooters and make sure that they don't get as many clean looks as they're accustomed to getting, and they really hurt us in the first game with some transition baskets, with some offensive rebounds, and what I would just term easy baskets. So we need to eliminate all the easy baskets that they got against us the first time and what they seem to get in a lot of games. So that would be a big start. And then, they're going to change defenses on us, so we're going to have to do a good job of recognizing the changing defenses they present and make adjustments through the course of the game. And I think it's going to be good preparation for sure with regard to the tournament. And obviously it's important for us to try to win the game Friday to win the league outright.
Coach, you talked about the tournament a little bit, and you're the number one seed in the Walpock District, arguably probably the tough district championship there is to earn in all of Ohio, because you got all the MAC schools that are D4 in that same, for the most part, all of them in the same district there. You've got St. Henry and Minster as well, two great basketball teams. What's your thoughts on your tournament draw? Have you looked at, the postseason, what it's all going to take? I'm sure you have, but your focus now, I'm sure, is mostly on Coldwater. But let's talk a little bit about the tournament and your draw.
Yeah, we were Division III the last 2 years, and so we've been accustomed to being Division IV for most of our lifespan, and so we're back down in Division IV this year, and we're familiar with playing at Walpock, and even though we're in the Northwest District, there are so many Northwest District Division IV teams that they got to farm them out to different regionals. And of course, as you know, our district, whoever wins our district, will go down to the Southwest Regional. And I think of the four districts, ours is probably the most difficult. Whoever comes out of our Walpock district is going to be it's going to be well earned, because we got some really good teams in there. St. Henry is 18-3, Upper Saddle Valley is 18-3. Of course, we know how good Minster is with the size they have and the good guard play. Then you got teams like Lima Perry and New Bremen who are very capable of winning some basketball games as well. So whoever comes out of our district is really going to have to earn it, and hopefully we'll be battle-tested when we get down to the regional in Kettering.
Well, you're right there. I've looked at the bracket, and I look at all those teams, and I'm like, wow, every one of these teams has got the capability of beating another team in that district tournament. So good luck to you there in the postseason. Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned the school district and something that's been in the news a lot lately, and that's the big upcoming levy that they may be putting on the Maria Stein ballot here for a new school, new mega gymnasium over there, something that's getting probably a lot of traction from the community, and if not traction, definitely a lot of discussion. What have you heard about it, and what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I just think the school board and the people that are running our school just have seen a need for some things that need to be upgraded, of course. And one of the things from my end is we just need more court space. When you walk into the junior high games, the 7th grade parents got to leave before the 8th grade parents can enter, and it's just a small gymnasium, and you're trying to coach 15 different kids, and you just got a small gymnasium. And what has happened here is sports has really escalated in the last 15 to 20 years. Sports are now year-round. I mean, literally, we spend 10 to 11 months in the gym working on basketball, and that doesn't even take into account that the school plays in our high school gym, and baseball and softball, and a lot of other things need time in there. So, a lot of times we're in there at 6 in the morning, and in baseball and softball, they're in there till 10 at night, and it's just a complete struggle. Then you get into April, and they got the school play, and you can't get into the gym. And, sports have just escalated to the point where it's year-round, And plus, it's filtered down to so many lower levels. You know, we're talking about 3rd and 4th grade basketball, things like that. And so the biggest thing from my end is we need court space. And I don't really have a good handle or a good feel for how the community feels as a whole. I think we're still working through that process, and I think our school board has put a lot of time into it. And so, there's a possibility that they might put it on the levy in November, and we'll just kind of see how it shakes out.
Well, your sports teams over there for sure have garnered the recognition and brought home enough of the gold trophies to support at least a little bit more working space for all you guys over there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to following that as the summer progresses and see how that everything goes on that. Coach, one more question before we let you go. And I was on the floor last Saturday night for that Russia Marion Local game, and I couldn't help but notice the end of your bench. You got 4 or 5 guys down there, and Coach, I got to say that they're almost as entertaining as your team.
Yeah, you know what? The thing we try to do is we really try to encourage our kids to be great teammates. And, if you're not playing in the game, you need to stay involved and active. And it's kind of taken a life of its own this year. Those guys are really engaged, and we really, it makes it fun. It's fun for those guys, and it's fun for our guys to see those guys really get encouraged when we do some things well. And they also do a good job when we struggle a little bit, and they keep our guys up. So, having great team chemistry, having great teammates is what it's really all about. And honestly, sometimes you're not going to remember the wins or losses, but you're going to remember how your teammates made you feel and the fun you had together with your teammates. And so those guys are creating some great memories, and they're doing a great job for us.
Listen, Coach, I've got to commend your team as well on Saturday night. Just some first-class program, first-class kids out there on the floor. You guys got the talent. There could have been some showboating going on. There could have been some other things going on as well. But they really control themselves well. Great team, and more importantly, a first-class program.
Well, Ken, I appreciate that, the kind words. Yeah, we just focus on trying to get better every day. We certainly respect everybody we play, and I think Rushia's had a heck of a year. I think Spencer's done a great job, and for them to be able to tie for the league title over there was a great job. And of course, Fort Laramie's an excellent team, and so is Anna. So, I think a lot of all of these teams, including St. Henry and Minster, we all got an opportunity to do well in the tournament, and it's just going to come down to on a given bounce here or there, or who can prepare well and play the best on a given night. So it should be a fun postseason.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Coach, good luck to you Friday night. Good luck to you in the postseason, and we'll definitely be following you throughout the tournament trail.
All right, Ken, Craig, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Coach. All right, that was the head coach of the Marion Local Flyers, Kurt Goettemoeller. And, Kenny mentioned Bruns and Mesh are actually getting some postseason honors. I know last week we talked about SCAL postseason honors, and you picked Anna Senior over there, White Bensman, as Player of the Year. And sure enough.
I nailed it, didn't I? And I think, Dylan Braun, I think, mentioned him in the conversation. And Jack Dayport, nice to see him get the overall third. Very well deserved. He's had a great career at Russia and another good season this year. And then Tyler Siegel and Evan Burning. So 5 great basketball players right there. And then, of course, the second team, all very well deserving as well, including our Kearns in the studio hour back there.
That's
so
right.
Congratulations to Kearns and Jordan York and the rest of the guys on the second team as well.
And I think Covey nailed the girls' Player of the Year when he picked Sarah Bergman.
He
from
did.
Robotics.
Covey knows his girls' basketball. I tell you what, that's a definite for sure there.
And speaking of Covey, kind of sounds like Kogi and Taylor Kogi tonight from Minster. We saw some news on her as well.
Big news from Kogi that she signed a national letter of intent to go to Ohio Northern. So congratulations to her. And, there's been a lot of kids in the signings here lately, and it's always interesting to see the kids and where they're going and taking their future, too.
All right, well, before we close it tonight, let's go back to the sound room and check in with the guys back there. And guys, you spend the first 25 minutes of our show not even on camera. I'm not sure exactly what's going on back there those first 25 minutes, but they tell me you have a lot of fun.
Well, that's one of the reasons we keep the camera focused that way. Keeps it a little simpler.
I got a fresh haircut. Tim gave me a nice buzz, high and tight for the Fish Report Live. Appreciate that, Tim.
Well, you're looking sharp as always, guys.
It looks like you gave Tim a haircut, too. No?
Just falling out.
Oh.
All right, well, listen, we're going to have Ken go over tonight's poll question, then we're going to go back to you guys for the results. Ken, what was our question tonight?
Speaking of 4 MAC schools here, we got 4 really good ones. And to our viewers out there tonight, which of these 4 do you feel will go the furthest in the postseason? Will it be Marion Local, St. Henry, Versailles, or Minster? TK, what do the telemetrics got to say tonight?
Right now, the fan base out there thinks the Marion Local Flyers will go the furthest. They've got 57% of the vote over St. Henry second, and then Versailles third place in the poll tonight.
Well, you know what's interesting about that, guys? I think the rest of those schools on that Marion not getting any respect in the state polls. The final state poll came out this week. They're nowhere to be found, but I know St. Henry's on there. Versailles, I don't know about Minster, but
I thought the same thing. You know, we've played a lot of really good teams. I've seen a lot of really good teams play this year, Craig. You know, Anna, Fort Loramie, of course, Versailles, St. Henry, Minster. But I'll tell you what, you know, Marion Local ranks right up there with all of them. I mean, the best of them. And I'm not sure where their votes are at. Like you mentioned early in the show, you know, they had 3 losses in their first 8 games. And since then, they've only had 1 loss. So, and that was to Fort Loramie, I think, who is a very good basketball team, of course. So, anyways, yeah, I'm not sure where those polls are coming from, but we've talked about polls in here before. We've talked about them from anywhere from cross country to basketball to baseball, and they're just polls, and they don't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't care which way you slice it. I would not want to play in that Wapak district. That's a dog fight just about in every game.
yeah, absolutely. You know, who you gonna pick there? Marion Local or Minster or St. Henry. Like he even mentioned Upper Scioto or even Lima Perry. I think they were good last year. But
you know, New Bremen, you know, they're sitting at 9-12. I think they took Versailles, a great Versailles team. They got beat in overtime, maybe, or like 95-90 or something crazy like that. So I mean, just some really, really good basketball teams over there.
All right, good stuff, guys. Thanks for that. And with that, that's going to wrap up tonight's show. Do want to say special thanks to our guests, head coach Kurt Goettemoeller from the Marion Local Flyers. Ken and I and the crew are all going to be back again next week, same time, same place, to talk some more tournament basketball. Until then, have a great rest of the week. Get out to the gym, watch a couple tourney games, and good night, everyone.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report.